In this video I'm going to show you the Mamiya 6 camera, not to be confused with this camera. This is the 1992 onwards Mamiya 6 rangefinder. I'm talking about the Mamiya 6 folding rangefinder camera. This preceded it by nearly 40 years. This is a 6x6 medium format camera. It's a rangefinder camera. It has one rangefinder window and focusing window, which they call a couple rangefinder. Some of the older folders had two windows, one for composition and one for actual focusing, so you had to move your eye between the two windows. With this you can do the focusing and composition all through that one viewfinder. Trying to get hold of these cameras in the UK at the moment is quite difficult. They seem to be readily available in China, Hong Kong, Japan, but you can't seem to get them in the UK. I bought this a few years ago and I got it quite cheap, but it didn't come out without its problems. The shutter on this camera was sticking on these slow speeds, and if I take the back or open the back, the lens or the rear element on this camera was really fogged up, and I tried everything to try and clean it, and the only thing that I found that worked was this selenium oxide powder. You just mix it into a creamy like paste, and then with a lint free cloth and lots of patience you just keep rubbing at the lens, and it did fetch it up like new. So if you do have any lenses that have very faint scratch marks or have you know, like a hazy look to them, this powder, selenium oxide, will clean that off. This camera is quite unique for its time because, unlike many of the other folding cameras of this type, to focus the bellows had to move in and out, so the linkage had to be right from the front of the front standard to wherever you focused it on the top plate on the camera. With this camera it was built differently. This is the focusing knob, which is in a very, very handy place, but if you watch the film holder, it focuses by moving the film plane. So it's quite a modern feature really. There aren't many cameras that focus this way, and it does mean that it's very accurate. There's no, with having no linkages that can wear and maybe get slightly bent, which will throw the focus out. It won't do that with this type of focusing mechanism. So I'll show you how to load this camera. First of all, I'll just shut it. Oh, you'll notice first on the camera it's wound on to say number 11 on there. When I actually take a photograph, cock the shutter, fire the shutter, I pull the lever back. Before I do that though, when you've actually taken a picture, press the shutter button, a red flag comes up in the viewfinder, and that's telling you that you've exposed that frame. So it's very difficult to double expose with this camera. So when you pull that lever back, the red flag disappears, and then you can wind to the next frame. When you wind to the next frame, the lever clicks back into position, and then cock the shutter, fire it again, and then you wind on, pull the lever back, and then wind on. And when you get back round to number 1, after you've taken 12, it doesn't lock, it keeps turning, and that's to facilitate the loading film into the camera, and I'll show you how to do that now. So I'll just close the front again. Close the front by pressing those two levers. It's a very solid rangefinder camera, this. Right, I'll see if I can show you how to load the film. Quite difficult at this angle, but I'll have a go. So first of all, you put the film into the camera. That's in. Then you have to make sure that the film leader goes underneath these two tabs, these two rails. Oops. pulls underneath the two rails, and then you locate it on the take-up spool. Which is there. I'll just wind on a little bit more. And then you put this removable pressure plate in. If you ever buy these cameras, always make sure that it comes with one of these plates, otherwise you're not going to achieve focus without it. So the pressure plate goes in, and then you wind the camera on. Until we see the arrow marks on the backing paper. There's the arrow marks, and they line up just in line with the pressure plate. Then you can close the back, and you keep winding. This is the only time you'll use the red window, until number 1, the first frame, shows in the red window. There we are, number 1. Don't know if you can see that. And you close the red window because you no need to use that anymore. Then you simply pull that lever back, and you're ready to take your first exposure. So we open the camera front, cock the shutter, take the shot, and as I say, there's a red flag that comes in to let you know that that frame, or number 1 frame, has been exposed. And as soon as you pull the lever back, that red flag disappears. Then you wind on to the next frame, onto number 2, and you'll see this lever move to the right, and it's locked now for the next exposure. And again, cock the shutter, take your light reading, press the shutter, the red flag comes in to let you know it's exposed, pull the lever back and wind on to number 3, and so forth. So it's quite simple to use, really. The lens on this camera is a Olympus Zuki C. I think that stands for single coating. It's a 75mm f3.5 lens. The shutter is a Shikosha Rapid, I think that's how you pronounce it, and the shutter speeds run from B 1 second right up to 500th of a second. The apertures on this lens run from f3.5 to f22. I'll let you hear the shutter. It's a very, very quiet shutter on this camera. And that's it. This is at a slow speed. It's a very, very nice smooth shutter on this camera. The camera has a rather rudimentary depth of field scale. I don't think it's going to be very accurate, that. As you move the focusing wheel, you can see that there's the depth of field scale. As you move the focusing ring, you can see that the numbers alter. Now, I don't know if they're in feet or meters, so I don't tend to use that. This camera can be used in conjunction with this, which I've shown in other videos, is the contour viewfinder. Clip that onto the top. The camera there, so you can focus with that and you have a clear view through that viewfinder. I don't think you'll be able to see through that. You might just. That's a handy little accessory to have. What else do we have? It has a normal size tripod socket, which is very good. And to close the camera, you just press those two levers I showed you before, and it's a very sturdy front standard on this camera. To open it, just let it open slowly. It's quite sturdy, there's not a lot of movement on that, because it's a short throw as it comes out, and these struts at each side are very strong. So all in all, it's an excellent camera, takes very nice pictures, and I'll show you now some pictures that I've taken with this Mamiya 6 rangefinder camera. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.